Hello everyone, hope I am audible. Hello everyone, am I audible? Can anyone confirm if I am audible? Okay, so we'll wait for a couple of minutes for others to join and then probably we'll get started. We are hoping for at least 100 students to join. Let them give couple of minutes and then we'll get started. So we have 10 folks who have joined us. Um, so we'll wait for 1 or 2 more minutes and we'll get started. Okay. Um, so let's get started. And thank you everyone for joining this session. And let me just share my screen so that you are able to see it. And once my screen is visible, you can just say that screen is visible. Um, Let me just open it. Okay, so let's get started. So I hope my screen is visible, and you can see my screen right now. And so the objective of this training is to help. Uh, the target segment is basically all those students who are either pursuing any kind of data science course, or who are in their final exam, final year, or who are looking to have their career in data science. There are a lot of platforms already available. So I thought of creating a training framework wherein you all can understand, like, based on the industry requirement, what are the things um, organizations are looking for. Just a brief intro about myself. So I have 12 plus years of experience in data science, and I am working in a MNC firm. And as a part time, I teach students on YouTube and other platforms as well. So this training is a very, this is first of the kind, and this is first time we have started this training, wherein I want to let you know that data science is not a specific skill. It is a interdisciplinary field, which means that you should be having knowledge of couple of things before we actually aim for a career. So this structure which I have, which you are able to see in my screen, this structure is basically about about the kind of topics we will be covering. We will be covering Python. To start with, we'll be covering with Python. We'll be covering statistics. We'll be covering maths, SQL, machine learning, deep learning. So till now, things are common. We all work with machine learning algorithms. We all know bits and pieces in SQL, and deep learning. Some of the folks also know. But when we talk about PySpark, when we talk about big data, not everyone work with PySpark. Not everyone work with big data. So some of these concepts are very relevant in the current industry scenario. And as a data science uh, professional, you should have a knowledge of one visualization tool. Since Power BI is a open source, the desktop version, so we will be going through Power BI. Cloud computing is one of the most important skill which you should have right now. Apart from that, I will also be helping you out in resume preparation, and at the final we can have one-on-one mock interview to help you all in terms of understanding what is needed in the industry and where we all stand. So this is from the training perspective. Now let me just show you a complete framework, how it works. So just give me a sec. So now we will be understanding a little bit in pieces, in more detail, about what the kind of skill set you should have based on the current ongoing scenario. So we'll see that. Okay. So hope you are able to see my screen right now. And now first thing we have to understand, we have already talked about that data science is a interdisciplinary field. It is a interdisciplinary field. Now what is meant by interdisciplinary field? That you should be aware of multiple concepts when you are entering into this field, and some of the core concepts are, you should be aware of programming, and you should be aware of statistics. To start with, if you are completely new to data science, this course will be from beginner to advanced. And this will be for all those candidates who are either new or who want to um, start from scratch. So here, if you see, these three things are very important from the data science perspective, and they form the core of the requirement. So to start with, if you want to have a career in data science, we should be very good in these skills. Now, when we talk about programming, and couple of with at least one visualization. Now, when we are talking about programming, you should be very good with one language at least. A couple of years back, there were two language, Python and R, but over a period of time, Python is the predominant language that is used for the data science projects. So you should be very good with Python programming language that is used for data analysis, and you should also be good with another language which is called as PySpark. So PySpark is actually the Python API for Apache Spark, and it is a kind of open source distributed computing framework for big data processing. So when we are studying big data and we are um, studying about the framework, we will be talking about these all the concepts. Now, second thing which we have to talk about is in terms of statistics, we should be very clear with some of the basic statistical concepts. It could be probability, and it could be hypothesis testing. So some of the basic concepts of statistics are very important, and we will be covering all these concepts in our training. And we should be also be good with algorithms, which could be regression algorithm, it could be linear regression, it could be logistic regression, it could be random forest, it could be any kind of algorithm. So in statistics is the core of any kind of framework. It either could be machine learning framework or deep learning framework. If you want to understand, then you should be very good with statistics. Why math is important? So there's an overlap between statistics and math. So if you are not aware of some of the functionalities like linear algebra, so linear algebra is kind of mandatory to understand. We'll be covering that, and you should be aware of some of the basic calculus and differentiation. So from math and statistics perspective, you should be very clear with all these concepts. Now, when we talk about visualization, there are different tools right now available, but most of the tools are the paid. And one of the tool which we can go for is, which we'll be going through, is Power BI. So we have touched about programming, we have touched about statistics, we have touched about math, and these things are mandatory thing. Now we'll be touching some more concepts. Let me just rub it off. Now, when we are now programming, math and statistics we have already seen. Now next topic is at least one structured data language, which is MySQL or SQL, we should be very good with. So SQL, we all know, it is a structured query language. In terms of structured query language, you should be very good some of the how the joins work. There are various types of joins we'll be discussing, how the window functions work, and all those functionalities we should be very good with. Now, when we talk about so if you talk about the complete framework from the data science perspective, Then it is most important is you should be very good with one programming language. You should be very good with SQL is like very basic thing. And Python and SQL are like bread and butter in data science industry. So you should be very good with. There is no leeway in terms of not knowing it. Then you should be very good with statistics. You should be good with some of the functional concepts of maths. And you should be have a so this is kind of a basic framework. You can call it as a basic framework. Now when we are going to little bit intermediate, then you should be good with all ML algorithms. You should be good with um, PySpark. So this is more at intermediate level. And then when we are moving into advance, then you should be working with deep learning algorithms. Deep learning, and you should be good with cloud computing. Now I'll be taking some time to explain you few things about cloud computing. So we'll wrap it off. So machine learning and deep learning algorithms will be covering it, as it is having plethora of algorithms to understand these concepts. Okay, so now we will talk about that why cloud computing is important, and what kind of things we will be covering up. Now when we talk about cloud computing, so you some of the candidates might already have knowledge in machine learning concepts, in deep learning concepts, in all those concepts. That's why cloud computing is important, because after the COVID and before that also, cloud computing was taking shape. And now it is reached to some kind of a mature or stability phase, where there are various organizations which are offering cloud services. So cloud services is actually when you move your on premises, infrastructure to cloud. By cloud, I mean it is a third party services provider, and you can access all these services over the public internet. And there are various organizations which are offering this cloud services. And some of the predominant organizations are like AWS, Microsoft, Azure, and it is GCP, which is Google Cloud Platform. So in AWS is Amazon Web Services, Azure is Microsoft Azure, GCP is Google Cloud Platform. So now when we are doing this course into cloud computing, we will be touching upon Microsoft Azure. So because you have to learn one, and in this training I will be covering Microsoft Azure, because I have recently done couple of certifications which I'll be talking about, which if you do, it will make you stand apart from the crowd. So one of the certification which is very basic. So ideally you should go for Forex certified. So what I mean by Forex certified is four certifications. This is the first certification is Azure 900. This is to test your basic skills of cloud computing. And then you have um, PL 300. This is about a visualization tool which is Power BI, or you can say it is a kind of data analyst certification. And then third certification which we have is DP 203, which is data engineer certification. So we'll talk about what data engineer do in day-to-day work. And fourth certification, which is very important from data science perspective, it is DP100, which is data scientist, Microsoft certified Azure data scientist. Now, when we are talking about all these certifications will add a lot of value into your profile, and you should be aiming for these four certifications. And they are proctored exams. So what do I mean by proctored exam is that you have to go to a center and you have to write the exam. So when I mean by proctored exam, you have to go to center and you have to write all these exams and you will get the certification. Now each exam will cost you close to 4 to 5k. So all the certification cost will come to around 20k, close to 20 to 22k. So that's why it is very important that you get a proper guidance to clear all these certifications. And and these certifications are actually important to stay ahead of the learning curve in the current scenario, because most of the organizations are looking for cloud certified professionals, and it will help you in your career as well. So this is from the perspective of everything which you should know in the current industry scenario. I hope it has given you some insight into what this training will be all about. This training is to connect the dots between the knowledge you have right now or you don't have, and to make you comfortable in what is the industry demand right now. Because many folks have reached out to me and they have asked, like, sir, I'm not getting internship, or can I apply for internship, things like that. Internship and interview, everything is fine, you will get a lot of opportunities, but at the same time, it is important that you know that what is the current industry requirement. So this is from the perspective of uh, data science, what is required. Now we will talk about some of the functionalities of what we do in terms of data. So let's dive into a little bit more about the concepts of data which we'll be covering, what kind of data we'll be covering. So yeah, so data is the formation for everything. For any kind of data science projects, you need data. And nowadays, there could be two sources of data. One is your primary source, and another one is your secondary source. So most of the organizations are actually collect their own data, and this is called as data collected, data collected from origin, which means from source. And secondary data is actually called as some kind of data which is already been collected. It could be surveys which has already been done, or it could be information available on the internet, public information. So most of the time we work with primary data, and primary data is always confidential because it is pertaining to a relevant organization. Next thing, which is that this is data. Data can be big or small. It can be CSV file. It can be Parquet file, Parquet format. It can be Avro format. It can be anything. But nowadays, most of the organizations want to work with big data to come up with more streamlined insights. Now, what is big data actually? So to understand big data, you have to understand the concept of three V's. Okay. And what is three V's? Three V's means variety and volume and velocity. So these are the three V's that define the big data. And this big data could be like petabytes, which is very big file size, or exabytes. So most of the projects which we do on our laptop or desktop, we work with CSV file and we train a machine learning model. or we work with inbuilt data sets. But in the real time scenario, you work actually with big data, and this data is stored, all the data is stored either in on premises. On premises means in the organization infrastructure, or it is stored in the cloud. So when we are talking about variety, so what is variety? Variety is something you have many features in the data, many variables in the data. What is volume? Volume means size of data. It is very big. What is velocity? Velocity means that this data is getting updated, or data is getting accumulated very fast. So for example, something like as click stream data. I'll talk about what click stream data is. So click stream data, or we have medical records. So you are, let's say we are wearing a health device. It could be Apple Watch, it could be any kind of health device, and that device is having sensors, and that sensors are actually collecting data on real time, and they are sending it to the database, and then you will get a summarized summary that how your health is working out. Similarly, click stream data, if you are opening a website in real time, it is sending the information to the servers. So we'll discuss more about clickstream data, but the point over here is all those data sets, all those sources of data which have lot of features, lot of variables, the size is very big, and they are updating on almost real time and very fast. So these three concepts define the big data, and we will be seeing this big data concept while we are working with PySpark. Of course, in this training, we cannot work with petabytes and exabytes of data, but just to give you that what kind of language we use to work with big data, that is PySpark. And what is PySpark? It is the Python API. It is the Python API for Apache Spark. And what is Apache Spark? So Apache Spark is a open source, which means it is free. Apache Spark is an open source distributed computing framework for big data processing. Now, next thing is uh, we have covered everything. We have covered data. We have covered big data. Now, if you talk about next thing which we have to understand is what are all the different roles available in the data science industry right now. So I hope you are very crystal clear that what this training will be covered. We have very less folks today who have joined, but we are expecting at least 100 to continue, because I'm putting lot of efforts, and at least 100 is the attendance we are expecting. So yeah. So now let's talk about, if you know everything, if you know all these concepts, what are the roles you will be fitting in. So if you see this picture, what we have covered, we have covered Python, statistics, math, SQL, machine learning, deep learning, PySpark, big data. We have talked about big data. We have talked about Power BI, cloud computing, resume preparation, mock interview. This is something can be done parallelly. Now we'll talk about different roles available in the data science. uh, One of the important role, which is not from the data science perspective, but nowadays you should have knowledge about that framework as well, or that role as well, which is data engineer. Let me just, which is data engineer. So one of the important role is data engineer, and then you have data analyst, and then you have data scientist. Now, when we are talking about these roles, um, now what is data? What does the data engineer do? Actually, they build data architectures. So, data engineer actually build data architectures. And what is data architecture? Which means they collect raw data from various sources, and process it to create data or to create the database in a usable format. So when we are talking about a real time scenario, we don't actually work with raw data that is actually processed by a data engineering team. We call it as a data engineering team, and then it goes to either data analyst or data scientist. Now, when we are talking about data engineer, I told you they build data architectures that collect raw data and process it in usable format for data scientist or data analyst. Now, main objective of data engineer is to make data available in a required format, and the required format changes from time to time. So that's why data engineer is one of the important role right now, because right now organizations are in a phase wherein they are actually organizing or storing their data in a streamlined fashion. Now, some of the languages it can be like they use is Python, they use Scala. So we are not going into data engineer, but just to tell you what kind of languages they use Python, they use Scala, they use SQL, they use NoSQL. So some of these are some of the languages they go for, and then they go for ETL transformation, uh, ETL transformation tools. So they use ETL transformation tools, and one of the tool is like talent. Talent is one of the tool which is ETL, and ETL we also do with, I've talked about DP203 certification. In DP203 certification is actually data engineer certification, where we will be you will be studying all these formats. Now, when we are talking about ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. So you extract the data, then you transform the data, and then you load the data. There is another process which is called as ELT, which is extract, load, and transform. So there's a slight difference which we'll be covering in this one. Now, when we are talking about data analyst, now data analyst is actually the first step when you are entering into your data science career. For example, if you're not getting data scientist role, then it's better not to waste time and start with a data analyst role. There's the difference between data analyst and data scientist is slightly more in terms of understanding of statistics, machine learning, deep learning, and maths. There's a lot of difference between what data analysts do and what data scientists do in our day-to-day work. So here you have seen the major objective of data analyst is to identify key insights by way of doing exploratory data analysis or by way of doing visualization. So hardly there is a time when data analyst is actually working on model development. Model development will go to data scientist. And data scientist's job is to analyze data for insights by using concepts of machine learning and by using the concepts of deep learning. So the difference between data analyst and data scientist is actually these 4 points, which is statistics, ML, DL, maths. Now, in terms of skills, let's talk about the skills needed. So I hope you are clear with data engineer. So data engineer comes in the whole life cycle of data in the beginning, where they have to collect the raw data and create the infrastructure which is ready for consumption by data analyst or data scientist. Okay. Now we'll talk about the skills needed. Now let's say that there's a data analyst and there is a data scientist. Now, in terms of data analyst, the kind of languages they should be aware of is they should be aware of Python. Python SQL is like better, but already told you. They should be aware of PySpark. They should be aware of Power BI or Tableau. This from the skill perspective, and they should be good with presentation skills because they are most of the time they are working on insights using visualization. It could be PPT or it could be verbal presentation skills. They should be aware of basic maths and basic statistics, not too advanced because they will be working on exploratory data analysis. So they should be good with basic maths and basic statistics. Now, all these skills are very mandatory. These this is intermediate level skills. If you want to go to advanced level skills, then you should have cloud computing understanding. In at data analyst level, you should go for Azure 900, and you should go for PL 300, and you should go for DP 203 certification. Because why DP 203 certification is very important. This is data engineer certification. You will be able to understand how the data flows in the system, how the data flows from input to output. That is very important. Now, in data scientist also should know all these things. In addition to all these concepts or all these technologies or languages, they should also be good with maths, which is pretty much, you can say, intermediate to advanced level, and they should be very good with statistics. Apart from that, they should be very good with ML algorithms. This is from the perspective of intermediate level. Now, when we go to advanced level, you should be good with deep learning algorithms. And deep learning, it could include your convolution neural network, recurrent neural network, or there's another field which is called as NLP, which is natural language processing. So all these things you should be aware of. Next thing, so DL is done, and third thing, in advanced level, in addition to all these three certifications, you should go for DP100 certification. DP100 is actually the data scientist certification, and you will learn to know how to develop the models, how to deploy the models in the cloud environment. So I hope you are very clear in terms of what is the requirement in terms of skills if you are going for data analyst and if you are going for data scientist, and you are very clear about it. Now there is another designation which is very trendy right now. Let me just rub it off. There's another designation which is trending right now and which is having a lot of scope, is called as ML engineer. Now, what is the job of this ML engineer? So, ML engineer actually coordinates with data scientist. So, job of data scientist is to build the model. Now, you have to, once you have developed the model, you have to move this model to something called as production, or you can call it as moving the model to live. Live means it is used by the organization in real time. Now, the main job of ML engineer is to build and deploy the ML models developed by data scientists to production to cater the objective which the model was developed. Now, ML engineers, they prepare the ML ops platform. ML ops means machine learning operations. That includes components to train, version, and serve the models. So the job of ML engineer is not to understand too much of deep learning, deep understanding about all the algorithms, all the concepts, because that is the job of data scientist. But not there in based on the organization, there will be overlap. Now, in some organizations, data scientist is also doing the role of ML engineer, and in some organizations, the data scientist is also not doing the role of ML engineer. There's a different ML engineering team in the organizations. So I hope by now you are very clear that what this training will cover in the future. But as I told you that attendance is mandatory. We should have a good number of hosts joining this, so that I am putting a lot of efforts, and it should not go in vain. So this is from the perspective of the skills needed. So now you know where you stand in terms of skills, and you know that where you are lacking, and you can from this graph, from this picture, you can be very sure, you can be crystal clear that where you are lacking. If you want to share your thoughts, you can go ahead in the comments. But this is the overall picture in terms of evaluating yourself, that okay, if I'm not aware of maths, if I'm not aware of ML, if I'm not aware of PySpark, or if I'm not aware of cloud computing, I should go for it. So what we'll do, we'll take 5 minutes break, and then we will start with the Python bootcamp. So we will have 30 minutes more session, and then we will wrap it up, and we'll have the session tomorrow. So we'll be restarting in the 5 minutes. Okay, let's get started. So there's a question like, is Power BI preferred over Tableau? So see, if you are very new, you would not want to spend too much money in licensing. Some of the organizations go for Tableau, but in my knowledge, many organizations are preferring Power BI. It is open source. ST is the desktop version, and it has more functionalities as well. So in my knowledge, I think Power BI is more usable, is more used in organizations compared to other uh, organizations. So okay, so let's get started from the Python perspective. We are starting with the Python bootcamp, and this bootcamp will have close to uh, um, 10 hours of sessions, starting from beginning to what is needed in the data science. So all the programming languages, whether uh, um, it could be Python or PySpark, or if it is a querying language like SQL, all the concepts will be covered based on the requirements of the data science industry, uh, so that you are confident in terms of what is being used in scenarios. So let me just share my screen and then we can get started with Python. Some of you might be aware of Python basics or maybe advanced also, but since we have the variety of audience and not everybody is in the same page, so I have to start with basics and then we will go with till advanced level. So let's get started. So now let me just share my screen. So first thing which you have to understand that there are plethora of platforms uh, you can codify in Python. So first example which you can do is you can work with Anaconda environment, and so Anaconda environment is actually a open source distribution for Python and R programming language. So if you see, this is Anaconda platform. I will be sharing all the links with you so that you can install the software application. So first thing is, there are various ways on which you can work with. One is the Python ideally. Second one is, so this is uh, different platforms to code. So one is Python ideally, and then you have the Anaconda. Anaconda is kind of a platform which has bunch of applications you can work with. So here, if you see, you have Jupyter Notebook as well. You have PyCharm community version as well. PyCharm community version is free. PyCharm Professional is subscription based. You have something called as Spider. So this is also a ideally environment. This is also, so, but for the, since it is for the benefit of the everyone, we are using Jupyter because it's more interactive. But if you are working in any kind of individual projects, you can go for Spider, or you can go for PyCharm community as well. So Python, Anaconda, and then you have Jupyter Lab. This is done. This is the third platform. You have the PyCharm community. So all are open source, and you can download it and install it at your um, as per your needs. Another thing is very popular is Google Colab, and third last thing is Spider. So I normally work with all these kinds of platforms. um, for mentoring I use Jupyter Lab, sometimes I use Google Colab, and these are the platforms you can use um, to codify in the Python. So here you can see that you have the options of markdown and heading. You can write comments. You can do all sort of activities. Now, what is we'll talk about Anaconda. So Anaconda is actually open source distribution for Python and R programming. So Anaconda is open source. and it consists of various packages. It consists of various packages for data analytics and data science, and it has various platforms in the console, which is um, all these platforms you can see in my screen. Now this is from the anaconda perspective. Now any programming languages have kind of variables to work with. You should be having a thorough understanding about all those kinds of variables that are available in the programming language. So there are various types of variables in Python as well. So we have numeric. So within numeric we have integer, float, and complex. So most of the time we work with integer and float only, and then we have strings, then we have list, and then we have tuple, dictionary, and sets. So out of all these for this list, tuple, dictionary, and sets, list and dictionary are two most important data types or data structures used in Python. So we should be very thorough with how to work with list, how to work with dictionary, and how to manipulate it. Now when we talk about variables in Python, so or the data types in Python, so you can in Python a variable name can consist of letters, underscores, and digits. So a variable can consist of all these things. So I cannot have um, so I can do something like this. If I have x equal to 10, y equal to 30, I can create initialize another variable which is z equal to x plus y. Now if I have to print it, I can basically use the print statement to print the value of it. So z value is comma z. So if you print this, you can see the value. Now there is another thing which you can check is type. So type will actually tell you what class it is. It is of class integer. One thing which you have to understand is that that Python is a very high level language, and it is an interpreted programming language. By high level you mean that it is most of the syntax is actually written in English language. So if you see this print z value is, so it is very easy to understand, and that's why it becomes good to understand the all the concepts. Okay, now Python syntax is very easy to understand, and it is an object oriented programming language. It is free and open source. So Python is a why object oriented programming language, because everything in Python is a class. So if you see the type variable, it says that class integer. So everything in Python is a object oriented programming language. Um, it is free and open source, and there are various platforms available to code. I have already talked about all these platforms that you can use to codify in Python, and it has numerous packages, and it has strong developer community. So now you should be very clear that why Python is very popular. And one thing which you should be aware of is that that who actually developed the Python language. So Python is a very popular programming language developed by a person named as Guido van Rossum in the year 1991. So it was developed in the year 1991. So now we'll go ahead and proceed with others. So now in terms of operators precedence. So first you have parenthesis, then you have exponentiation, and then you have division, then you have subtraction, and then you have addition. Division, after division it is multiplication, it's not subtraction, which is, and then you have subtraction. So it is also called as PEDMAS. So PEDMAS means first is parenthesis, exponential, division, multiplication, and subtraction. Now you can also work with um, string. So we have talked about integer. Similarly, you can copy the same thing, and you can have float as well. So if I do same thing, x equal 10.23, z equal 10.45. If you print the class of z, now it is a if it will be a class as float. The class is float right now. Okay. Now, so this is from the integer and float perspective. We'll also be talking about complex in a couple of sessions. Now we'll talk about strings. So in Python, the string is actually created using a single inverted commas or a double inverted commas. So we'll see that. So let's say that if I do print the session starts at 9 a.m. So I can do it in double inverted commas, or I can use in a single comma as well. So it doesn't matter in Python. Like this also you can do. If you want to break a line, you can use slash n as well. So if I want to print the same line in two lines, I can use something slash n. So slash n means that it will start at the new line, like this. Here it is starting at the new line, and you can also get user input. Let's say if you want some user to enter any number, so what you can do is a is equal to input, you can do enter number, enter your number. So if I run this, so it will ask for a number. Now if I enter 20, so the a value is 20. So if I print a, so a value is 20. But if I print type of a, if I print type of a is a string. So whatever number you are entering, uh, the code is taking it as a in string, and that's why you typecast it. You convert it into a integer. Whenever you are taking any user input, you can convert into a integer, or you can convert it into a float. Now it is an integer, and you can do all mathematical formulations. Now, this is from the perspective of strings. We'll be seeing more detail, how you can take user input, how you can work with integers. So this is from the perspective of these many concepts. Now, next thing which we'll be talking about is loops. So in all the programming languages, it is common that we work with loops. And the first loop is very basic, which is if else. So if else is basically used to evaluate a condition. All the loops are actually used to evaluate a condition, and if the condition evaluates to true, it will run the code, or it will do into else part. There's another concept which is called as indentation. This is a very important concept. Now, whether it is a function, whether it is a class, or whether it is a loop, there is a concept of indentation. And what does this indentation means? So indentation means that how you are going to evaluate your conditions once your code is written. So let's say I have a value like a equal to 20.33. So I do evaluation if a is greater than 15. Now this colon mark after this a greater than 15 is actually make the next line of code indented. Indented means that the next couple of lines of code will fall under if a equal to greater than 15. So this four space which you are seeing over here, this four space is called as indentation. This is equal to one tab space, and this will come automatically if you put a colon sign. In other languages, it could be C or C++, we have indentation as curly braces. So if you are writing a for loop, you have to then write a curly braces, and then you have to write your code inside it. But in Python, indentation is done by colon mark. So you do the colon mark. So if a is greater than 15, then you do print a is greater than 15, or else. And there is also concept of else print a is not greater than 15. So here if you see, it is saying a is greater than 15. Now if I make it 10, like this, a is not greater than 15. So you can evaluate multiple conditions. So this is a basic if else statement. There is another statement which is called as if else if. Now what is if else if? um, let's say I'm evaluating a condition. I want to evaluate one more condition. So if I say else if, and I can evaluate another condition. So in else you cannot evaluate a condition, but in if and else if you can evaluate a condition. If x is equal to 20, then x is equal to 20, like that. So what now it is evaluating two conditions. Now if I make it to 20, so if a is greater than 15, yes, it is greater than 15. um, so if I run this, it will print that a is greater than 15, because this condition is evaluating to 2, so it is printing it. Now I can also say that if a is greater than 30, so it will evaluate the else condition, a is not greater than 15, uh, like this. So this is a actually. So if I run this, it will evaluate x is equal to a is equal to 20. So first it is going to if condition. If is not evaluating to 2, then it will go to else if, and then it will go to else condition. So if you want to evaluate multiple conditions, you can have else if, like this. Now this is also called as operators. So this single equal to is called as assignment operator, and this double equal to is called as comparison operator. So if I have to evaluate a condition, I am using the double equal to. Double equal to means comparison operator. Single equal to means assignment operator. If you want to assign a variable, this is assignment operator, and this is a comparison operator, like that. So hope you are very clear with all these things. Now we will be talking about another concept. Now there is something called as while loop. So while loop also is actually used to evaluate a condition until it is true. So for example, if I have something like a equal to 100, and I can do while a is greater than 50, print a, and I can do a equal to a minus 1. So by the time, till the time a is greater than 50, the condition will evaluate to true, and every time I am decreasing it by 1 unit. So as soon as it becomes less than 50, it will come out of the loop. It will not print anything. So this is a while operator. This is basically used when you want to evaluate a single condition, and when it is true, it will put it to the what is there in the code, or else it will come out of the loop. While use, we don't use that often. We use if else very often in data science, and there is another thing which is more often is called as for loop. So for loop is basically used to iterate over a, it could be a list, it could be a string. So let's say I have a string. Let's say I have this string and I have to iterate over this string. So I can simply write for I in a underscore str print I, like this. So what it will do, it will iterate through each and every character of the string and will print the values till the time all the values are printed. So like this you can use uh, for loop. There is also called as a range method. So let's say if I do range of 20, so range of 20, which means that it will start from 0. I think it will go till 19 or 20. So we'll just check it out. So if I do something like this, for I in range 20, print like this. So it will print go till 19. So in Python, the values starts from 0. So here it starts from 0, it goes till 19. So this range is actually a generator object which generates the number between the specified value in the parenthesis. So this should be very clear to you right now. Now in Python, there is one more thing. The index starts from 0. We'll talk more about it. Now let's say that if I have a value of um, y equal to 100. Okay. Now let's say if I do something like this, print the value of y is comma y, like this. If I do, so it will print the value of y is 100. Okay, the same way you can do something like this as well. You can give something called as format, and instead of writing it outside, you can give a placeholder. So this curly braces is a placeholder to print any value which you want to print in your this single line. Now let's say I want to print this value of y, and this format method will actually bring this value of y inside this placeholder. So you can do like this as well. There are multiple ways of printing the values in as a between string and integer as a combined object. Now let's say that there is a float value and there is an integer value. Now if I have to print both the values, then I can do print. This F is for format, and the value of y is, you can put y as a placeholder, and value of z is, you can do yz. Correct? This is the, now since it is a float, you have to give a colon mark, then dot 2f. Dot 2f means you want to print this value up to 2 decimal places. So there is a error. Just check it out. The error is the this inverted commas. So now you can see the value of y is also printed, the value of x is also printed like this. Now we'll see one more example. Now let's say that let me just see if you guys have any questions. Yeah, Satyendra, you can ask questions. Video quality is not clear. Is it with everyone? Because I am doing the HD quality. It is 1080 pixels. Um, I hope it's not with the everyone, because I have not received this feedback from others. Abdul, you might have to check your internet connection, or you might have to check your uh, you might have to check your settings and make it to SD. Okay, now Abdul is fine. So now we proceed with the other. So if there are any questions, I will be actually giving you my contact details, my email later on, and you can actually ask me questions. The objective is to help you guys to understand that what is the requirement of the industry right now, and things are changing very fast, and the requirements are also changing very fast, so you should keep up the pace. And the current requirement, I will already told you. In addition to everything, it is important that you actually work with cloud computing. So we'll proceed now, since there are no questions. So uh, um, we'll proceed with the next step. So let me just share my screen. Now there is something called as start, stop, and step. So now if let's say I do something like this, for I in range 10 comma 500 comma 50. So if I do like this, print I. So what it is doing, this is a concept of start, stop, and step. So start means it will start from 10, it will go maximum till 500 with a step of 50. So the difference between each consecutive value is 50. So this function is also very useful when we want to know that if you want to skip any particular values, we'll be seeing. So you should know this concept of, if you want to comment anything in Python, you can use hash symbol also. This is the concept of start, stop, and step. This is the concept of start, stop, and step. So I hope you got very clear understanding of this as well. Now we'll be moving on to other concept. We will have today's session till 10:30 because today less folks have joined, and we hope that I will again remind everyone to join from tomorrow on time, so that we have full stress session of 1.5 to 2 hours, so that everyone is benefited. Now we'll talk about another data types in Python. First of the data type is very important, which is list. So we'll talk about list now. So now list is actually can be defined using square brackets. So if you have to define a list, you can do it via square brackets. And uh, and list, you can use the built-in method also to create the list, and there are some methods which we'll be seeing from the list perspective. So now if I have to create a list, so I can simply create using square brackets, and I can write the values like, if it is a string, it has to be in inverted commas, and you can have integer as well, you can have float as well, you can have boolean as well, then you can have null values as well. So this is a list. Okay, now if I want to print this list, this list is under the square brackets. So now if I want to print this list, I can just use print a underscore list. Okay, so this will print all the values in the list. Now if I have to print the type, I can do print type. So you will come to know what class it is. Print type of a underscore list. So it is a class of type list. So you can see very clearly that it is of type list. Okay, so now we'll move on to the next topic. Now next is uh, you can also create a list using the list method. So if I do b underscore list, I can create the same object. Instead of a square bracket, since it is a method, I'll use the parenthesis. Inside this parenthesis, I'll use one more parenthesis and I'll pass all these values. So I can do print b underscore list like this. So here you can see in these two fashion you can create the list. Now, if I have to append, now if I have to add any value to the list, I can use the append method. Dot append like this. I can print like this I can do. So now by default the append method will append the value at the last. Now if I have to add the value at a specified index, let's say I've already told you in Python the index starts from 0. Index is the location of the memory on how your data is, each item is stored. So ABC is 0, DEF is 1, 23 is 2, and so on and so forth. Now let's say I have to insert the value at the second index, not at the last. For that you can use insert method. So b underscore list dot insert, at the second index I want to insert 300.33. Then I can print the value like this. I can. So now it is inserted at the second index. This is 0, this is first, and this is second. So if you want to insert values, you can do like this. Now if I want to delete the value at a specified index, let's say I want to delete this DEF. So if you want to delete any value from the list, you can use the pop method. So you can do like this: b underscore list dot pop, and since I want to remove from the first, I can do b underscore list dot pop. So now def is removed. Now if I want to print, I can print this def is removed. So pop is used to remove the element from the specified index. You can also concatenate two lists. So if I have to combine a list and b list, I can just use plus sign. So I create a c list is equal to a underscore list plus b underscore list. So if I do like this, it will combine the two lists. Now there is another method which you can use to combine two lists, and that method is called as extend. So I can do b underscore list dot extend, and I can, since it is a method, you have to give parenthesis and then followed by the list, like this. Like this also you can use the you can concatenate the two different lists, like this you can. So it has concatenated the two different lists. So I hope it is very clear to you. We'll just revisit. You have seen how you can print type, how you can create a list. List is a very important data type in Python, and most of the time in any kind of pre-processing we use list and we use dictionary. So it becomes very important that you are very good with list and dictionary in Python, because that will be something used very often. Now we'll be moving to next topic. So next is you can also um, do sorting in your list. We'll see that. So you can also do sorting. So what do I mean by sorting? So let's say if I have an integer list, so again square brackets, like this. So I can do something like this: print x underscore list dot sort. So we'll see what it does. So let's do it. And if you want to sort in a reverse direction, you can do reverse equal to true. And now you can print like this. So if you don't put reverse equal to true, it will do in the ascending order. If you put reverse underscore reverse equal to true, it will print in descending order. So if I don't do this, I can just do x underscore list dot sort. So it will do in the ascending order, like this. Uh, you can sort the string as well. So let's say I have something like this. Like this we have. So I can do, let's see that like this I have. So if I do something like this is str. If I do str underscore list dot sort, if I do like this and I print like this, so it will sort in the in the sequence of alphabetical order. But if I want to sort based on the length, for example, if I do something like this, if I do sort method and if I pass key equal to len. So what this key equal to len means, it will sort based on the length of the string. So first is 2, then 3, then 4, and then 5. Now if I have to sort this in reverse order, you can do key equal to length comma reverse equal to 2. So it will do in the reverse order. So in here you can see the difference. In integer you are just using the sort method, but in string you can have various functionalities. You can sort in order of in order of alphabetical order, or you can sort based on the key length, or you can sort based on the reverse as well. If you want to reverse the list, you can use the reverse method. So I can do underscore list dot, it will reverse the list. Like this, it will reverse the list. If I run this again, it will again reverse. And there are various inbuilt methods which you can use to find it. Now we will take a pause here. One more thing which we'll be talking about tomorrow is the slicing and indexing of the list. So I would request all of you to join on time, and encourage your friends also to join, because if you miss sessions you will be missing the flow of the whole training, and then you will get confused, and then the value which you should derive from the sessions will not be coming. So today I think you should be very clear what we have discussed so far. We have discussed the complete training which we'll be covering, and why it is important. That parameter also we have covered, that what is needed in the industry. We have also seen that in the current industry requirement, it is important that you have the knowledge of cloud computing, because that is actually used in many companies, and these skills are very important. And we have also seen that if you want to move to data analyst, or if you want to move to data scientist, or if you want to move ml engineer, what kind of skills are needed. So tomorrow we will be continuing from this session alone only, and there is a question that repeat list again. Okay, so then what is list is, so it is a data type wherein you can have multiple types of variables. It is basically defined using square brackets, and it can have various methods. It can have append method, insert method. So it is basically used to store multiple values of single data type, or it can store values for the multiple data types as well. We'll be seeing this in more detail in tomorrow as well. So revise all these sessions, and come back tomorrow. We'll be meeting again at 9 a.m. I'll be sharing the live session link shortly. Encourage you all to join, and increase the attendance as well, um, and we will be covering it up. So if you have any questions, I will be sharing you email ID in the Telegram channel. I think you can reach out to me in the Telegram channel as well. Let me just ping you the Telegram channel link in case you don't have. Just give me a sec. Let me just give you the Telegram channel link. Just give me a sec. So I am. So you can join this Telegram link. Everything will be posted over here. I hope you all have joined it. If you have not joined, you can join it, and we'll be connecting tomorrow now. Thank you so much everyone for joining, and let's make this is a great success. So join tomorrow on time, and we'll be starting with couple of more functionalities, and we'll move into the advanced concepts in Python. So stay tuned, stay connected, and subscribe the channel, share with your friends as well. And let's meet tomorrow. Have a nice day. Thank you, everyone.